and welcome to another episode of Lean in Leander. I'm your host, Andrew Naudine, and in this episode, I want to introduce you to a gentleman by the name of Scott Smith. Now, Scott is the brain and brawn, I guess, to a certain degree, behind the Texas Pumpkin Festival. Now, the Texas Pumpkin Fest is located off of East Crystal Falls Parkway. It's in the area right by the Texas Humane Heroes location. So I'll give you the specific address a little bit later in the podcast. But for those of you who are familiar with Leander, you know exactly where I'm talking about. And I went out there to check it out and get a sense of what it was that they were doing there, because I'm always looking for interesting stories and interesting angles on the community here in Leander, Texas. And when I first went out there, I was very, very impressed. It's a very well organized, very well run event. But what really struck me was how well organized it really was. I have a background in events and exhibits, and it's one of the staging things that always you look for once you've had some experience in that particular industry. And the staging here is really, really well done. And I commend Scott for the way that he imagined this festival and the way he's pulling it off. And I want you to know that this is a great place for you to spend some time with your family. If you have small children, or maybe you're a grandparent and you want to take the grandkids out to something that was fun, this really is that. It is fun. It's very, very family friendly, very kid friendly, and not spooky at all. I mean, the thing about it is that it's a fall festival, and of course Halloween always kind of creeps into that one way or the other. But on the weekends, there's magicians and magic shows, and there's just a lot going on that keep the kids really, really well occupied and fascinating to them, because you have to remember this is a child's perspective. So while it might look a little bit different to us as adults, from a kid's perspective, this is a wonderful, it's a land of wonderment, if you will. So I definitely encourage you to check it out. And I also want to introduce you to Scott himself. So let's go ahead and move on to the episode. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you'll support what he's doing out there at the Texas Pumpkin Fest. So I'm out here at the Texas Pumpkin Fest with Scott Smith, who's the brainchild behind this wonderful, wonderful place. So I wanted to take a few minutes and just talk to him a little bit about how he came about with this idea and learn a little bit about Scott. And because, you know, he's in Leander and this is in Leander and we're all about Leander. So nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. We're very happy to be here in Leander.
Yes, this is true.
It's a very family-oriented town, and it's a perfect place to do an event like this.
Absolutely. So I was just tooling about, I think on social media or somewhere, and I ran across this a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, you know what, that sounds pretty interesting. And the way that you had kind of positioned it as like the largest collection of pumpkins and stuff like that, I was like, well, let's go check this out. Yeah. So it was enough to get my interest. I don't have kids or anything like that. So it was like, all right, let's go see what this place is all about. And when I came out here that first weekend, honestly, I was blown away. Because this type of thing is just, it's super, super cool, in my opinion. And again, like you said, it's super family oriented, something that's real nice to do with the kids. You know, we walked around a little bit, my wife and I, and there's a couple of spots here, like your corn maze. It's a little spooky, but it's not like horrifyingly scary, you know? And that was that you always kind of look at that, because if you're going to position family friendly. So Tell us how you got to this. How'd this all come about?
My family's been doing pumpkin patches for over 30 years.
Wow, 30 years?
Over 30 years. And
so before you go any further, has it always been here, or you guys have kind of moved it around?
All over Texas.
I gotcha. Okay.
I think we did our first one in Houston. I managed my first pumpkin patch when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
And would stay in an RV on the weekends. So my first real experience managing a business.
Right.
And so it's been a long ways. I veered off into other things in my life. Concert promotion, own a couple clubs and recording studio in Los Angeles, and on and on and on. So a couple years ago, or last year rather, my mom asked me if I wanted to help out with the pumpkin patch. And before last year, we were doing it at she was doing it at her venue in North Austin at Anderson Terrace, wedding and event venue, beautiful venue. And I said, yeah, I want to help, but I have a different vision for it. let's treat it like a real festival. Let's create a brand, and let's take it to the next level. And with a little bit of persuasion, my mom allowed for the ideas to flow. And she's a great lady, and she's a smart businesswoman. She
Right.
wanted to make sure it was the right decision.
I think I met her that first weekend.
Oh, yeah,
I want to
Sherry.
say that I did. Yeah,
Sherry's,
Sherry.
yeah, she's very cool lady.
Okay.
And we call her the Pumpkin Queen.
Okay.
She didn't necessarily like that, but we call her the Pumpkin Queen. But she's neat. She's been doing the pumpkin patches and keeping it going for all this time. And I just thought, if I'm going to get involved, I really want to take it to the next level and do something really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use my background to really push it.
Absolutely.
And take it to the next level.
So this is maybe like the first iteration of the Pumpkin Festival here in Leander, right? Like
Last year.
Last year was the first
So
one.
this is our second year with this brand.
Okay. So last year, pandemic, COVID, how did you manage to get through that?
Well, we were looking for bigger, better venues, property. We drove around all over the place, and then a good friend of ours, Mickey, who's the president of the board of the Texas Humane Heroes.
Okay.
So why don't you guys come check out Texas Humane Heroes? And after seeing, a dozen or so venues, as we're pulling in, I knew it. I said, this is it. This is where we're doing it. This is it. This is the spot. I could feel the vibe. And we worked it out, and it's a great organization.
Mm-hmm.
We donate a lot of money to them.
Mm-hmm.
We allow patrons to tip. So all the tips that they do on top of their purchases all goes to Texas Humane Heroes.
No, it's
On
fantastic.
top of our donations.
That's fantastic. Now, you kind of answered a few questions there, but I did want to get into how that relationship started. So you already answered that.
Yeah.
But I think it's fantastic. I mean, when we first moved to Leander, before I got Rousey, my dog, we did come over here. We came to Humane Heroes, and we looked, and we tried to see if there was the right dog there.
Yeah.
Right dog wasn't there at the time.
Oh.
Nothing against them. They had great dogs. It just wasn't the right fit. But I've always been a big fan of what they do out here. Long time Bob Barker, spay and neuter your pet kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're gonna get a pet, take responsibility for it and treat it right. And they do great work out here.
They're a great organization. Jeff is the CEO. He's the guy here running the operation. Super easy to work with. Loves what he does. Everyone here loves what they do, and they get a lot of volunteers. And so it just makes sense.
No, it's fantastic.
We just fell in love with the organization. We fell in love with the operators, and what a better way to do a family event and donate money to a good cause, and it just works.
And I'm sure there's some adoptions that are coming as a direct result of people coming to the fest.
They broke their record last year
Really?
on adoptions. I don't know if that was because of us, but they did.
I would think that there might be a correlation.
Well, the CEO is a new CEO.
Okay.
And he is really good at what he does, so I would give a lot of credit to him. He's doing other things to bring in money and raise awareness. I think it just all came about at the same time, and but Jeff is an amazing human being. He does a great job.
No, this is really cool. And to that point, I mean, when my wife and I first came out here, again, about 3 years ago or so, there was this road wasn't even paved.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, it wasn't easy. It wasn't hard, but it wasn't easy. It was like one of those things where like, I'd prefer not to drive over a gravel road, but I'm going here, so I'll go. But that's one of the first things I noticed when I came back was that, hey, they paved this.
Yeah.
So how much nicer is it now?
Their donations, I believe, tripled last year too. So that's not just from us. Like they're on a great path, and we just happen to fall in at the right time.
Fantastic. And obviously the land here is something that's very flexible for your festival. I mean, I am looking at the whole layout and in looking around. How large is this? I mean, you would probably know.
I would say this is about 5 acres right here.
5 acres.
Maybe a little bit more of where the patch actually is.
Mm-hmm.
The whole property, I believe, is 22 acres, somewhere in the 20 range.
So there's room for growth.
There's a lot of room for growth.
Okay.
There is.
Do you foresee yourself kind of like being here in this time frame for the next few years? I mean, obviously you want to grow it.
We want to, and say somehow we're lucky enough where it outgrows this, we will always work with these guys. They will always be a partner with us.
Right.
We'll see if that happens. If not, we're happy. We're more than happy to stay here.
Right.
But again, we're we're partners forever, and we're
That's
always
great.
going to donate money.
That's fantastic. So when you come out here, what you'll find is that there's a lot of, very kid-friendly, there's a little train that kind of pulls around. And, I was here the other day. Scott and I have played a little bit of tag trying to get this canned. But, it's fun to watch because you see these little kids and they come out. And, to a small child, this is a world of wonders.
We have designed this event for children. That's what it's all about. After a long career in promoting concerts and things like that, this is a relief.
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot more joy out of watching children have fun than babysitting drunk adults at events. So,
not that there's anything wrong with having events for adults, okay? We're not anti-adult.
No. But the event is totally geared around children. Even the maze, the Stranger Things maze from the Stranger Things show.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to make your way to the Demogorgon, and you see all the characters as you go throughout the maze. But it's just that was our focus, was kids, and everything was going around with COVID, and all the kids were cooped up.
Yep.
One of our phrases is "where a kid could be a kid again."
Mm-hmm.
So because of COVID, really is what inspired us to just do a complete kid-friendly event. I know all pumpkin patches are in general.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's great for families, but our focus was for children.
Right.
Have a good time.
Well, and like I said, it shows. I mean, I was walking around, and my kids are all grown up, but I'm walking around and I'm thinking, this is really nice for a little kid. And again, the couple of times that we played a little tag getting out here, I've been out here watching parents with their kids, and taking them around, and the kids are just wide-eyed the whole time, and they're really, really loving it. And sometimes I think we lose sight of that as an adult because it's perception, and we see things for what they are. I mean, let's be frank. We look at this and we're like, oh, this is nice, But a little kid, comes to the inflatable ghosts and the giant gourds that they can find and stuff like that. I saw a couple of kids smashing pumpkins the other day, and they weren't in the band.
Last year and every year a lot of pumpkins go bad, and we typically throw them away, and we just came up with a plan to have a little fun with them, kind of like playing with your food, like kids like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a pumpkin smashing booth. And we take all of our pumpkins, kind of aging, getting a little soft, and we let people smash them, and it has become a hit.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I saw it, and I was just like, wow, that's a good idea. Because again, just any kid has an opportunity to smash something, they're gonna go for it,
Yeah, and the parents are loving it too.
Yeah, no, of course, because
it's great for the dads.
Because he gets to be the hero and kind of finish off the pumpkin at the end. Because the kids can't quite break him, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, he looks all big and strong.
It actually turned out better than what we imagined, and just the smiles on people's faces, and that's what's so great about this is the interaction.
Yeah.
With families out here, kids laughing, kids running around, and we don't have a lot of rules.
Mm-hmm.
We have some rules about being nice to the pumpkins and things like that, but we don't establish a lot of rules. We just want people to be nice and kind to each other.
Well, and I think anytime that you create a community-centered event like what you have here, which is what I would refer to it as. I mean, it's a community-centered event.
Definitely.
Yes, you would love to see people come in from out of town and all that stuff, and that'll eventually happen, I think, because you've got a really good thing here. But right now, it's like, hey, Leander, come on out here and check this out. And I think for anyone who's new to Leander, I mean, you get here and then you're coming here for multiple reasons, and whether it's a new job or you're leaving a state or whatever it is that you might be doing. It's a nice community, and it's growing so fast that a lot of people overlook things like this. So this is one of the reasons I wanted to sit down with you. It was like, hey, this is something that's really, really nice. It's relatively new and it's very community oriented.
That's our goal. You nailed it right there.
Yeah, well, so I think you're doing a great job. I mean, I literally, like I said, I was kind of blown away. I was like, wow, this is a lot different than what I had envisioned in my mind.
And being there as families, it's really different from like a typical festival. Generally, people go to festivals, they're usually over 18 or 21. They all have independent income.
Mm-hmm.
Usually a family comes out, they have kids, they have to pay for these kids, they don't have income. So we wanted to make it affordable. So it's only $10 to get in.
Yeah, I noticed that. So it's $10 on Friday through Sunday, right?
Correct.
And then Tuesday through Thursday, it's $5.
And then we do special days. We do veterans, military, and first responders, free to get in on Tuesdays. Monday is free for the community, so it's free for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really try to give as much as possible. But on the weekends, you get a lot. $10, you get magic shows.
Yep.
You get unlimited access to the super slide, unlimited access to the big pumpkin spinner. The only things we really charge extra for are the train rides.
Mm-hmm.
Food and drink, and face painters charge money.
Mm-hmm.
They're separate vendors.
But that's standard for any festival. I mean, anywhere
Yeah.
you go and they do the face painting or
Yeah.
the balloon animals or all that stuff, it's an extra $1 or $2 or whatever it might be.
Yes, it's a lot cheaper than Dave & Buster's.
Yes, it is, and it's probably a lot safer, to be honest.
Oh yeah, for sure. Wide open space,
Yeah.
sunshine.
Yeah.
We do have a sanitation station. We do have sanitizer everywhere. And
Now, knock wood, the weather's been really good for you too. So
we had a couple days of rain.
Right.
We thought we were going to be
Awesome.
closed last weekend, but the weather changed and the sun came out.
Mhm.
And the people came. We had an amazing second weekend. We had an amazing first weekend. We literally did 4 times the amount of people in the first weekend than we did last year.
that's fantastic. That's
So we're
fantastic.
Growing very fast.
And I hope, I mean, with my audience and those of you who watch or listen to the podcast on a regular basis, I definitely encourage you to come out here. So it's at the Texas Humane Heroes facility. So that is at 10930, right?
Yep.
10930 East Crystal Falls. So if you're in Leander proper, just head east on Crystal Falls. You can't miss it. And if you're on the far east end, head west on Crystal Falls. You really can't miss it. It's very easy to find. There's a giant pumpkin flag, if I remember correctly,
There is.
at the entrance. So just look for the pumpkin flag.
That's right. Or the pennant flags.
Or the pennant
Parking.
flags.
You'll see it.
Or the large crowd of people parking.
There it is.
That'll give you a good hint that that's where it is.
There it
But
is.
I mean, it's fantastic, and I really, really commend you on this effort and commend you on your vision. And I know just from meeting you, and we haven't known each other very long, we've known a couple of weeks, but in meeting you, I'm like, this guy has a lot of ideas, and I love ideation. So, I mean, I can see where you have potential for growing something really, really nice out here over the long term.
Those are very nice words, and you're too kind. I really appreciate that.
I like to call it as I see it.
Awesome. That's a good
Anyway,
one.
so let's chat a little bit about you, because you're an interesting guy, okay? The festival is an outcropping of your experience, and you've had some experience, like you said, doing music festivals and running a club out in LA and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get into that line of work? I mean, what kind of took you that direction?
Well, really, my mom being an entrepreneur, and really, like, I look back and things like running the pumpkin patch, learning how to be a business owner, and just kind of taking it from there. And did my first real event in San Francisco when I was 17, before I was even out of high school.
So when you say you did your first event, were you working an event?
No,
or
I
you
produced my
You
first event.
produced your own event?
Yeah, from top to
Wow.
bottom.
Okay.
Mhm.
In San Francisco.
In San Francisco.
Wow, that's
We
impressive.
moved to California when I was in about 4th grade from Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of fell into it, snowballed, and by the time I was 21, I owned a commercial recording studio in Los Angeles, and it just was a long career, man.
So these were festival type events that you were putting together, even initially out in California, right?
Correct.
Were they venue specific, or were they more like open air?
A little bit of both. I started off in electronic music, and then started veering off into live music, and produced a couple festivals out here in Texas, and a lot of different shows in California. So it's been a variation from country to rock to metal,
That's what I was going to ask next.
all across the board.
Okay.
But I will say again, like, nothing in that world compares to doing these children events.
Oh, for sure. And I can see where the responsibilities of a larger festival like that. Again, let's
Yeah.
just say, let's just say a country music festival,
Mhm.
whatever. There's a tremendous amount of planning that goes into that.
Mhm.
And if you're doing more than one in a year, then I
Yeah.
can only imagine what that's like. Yeah, and I'm not even making the comparison here, but I do a annual soccer tournament that I've been doing in Houston for
great.
like 17 years now.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Wow.
And I'm planning for that all year long. I'm
Yeah.
doing stuff all year long for that one weekend. It's 2 days, and it takes the whole year to get everything
It really does.
lined up.
It really does. It really does. And, eventually I think we're going to go into the world of live music here. But I wanted to wait. I wanted to build a brand.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm a little burned out from that.
Yep.
So, but I think it's inevitable.
Yeah, no.
Here.
I think that's where I see the vision. I mean, honestly, because in talking to you, I was like, all right, I could see where this could go in the long run. And it's something that I've openly talked about to several people in the city of Leander is, I'm going to tie this back to the community at large. We are the fastest growing city in the state of Texas.
Is that?
Yes.
Is that a fact?
Yes, that is a fact.
That makes sense.
Yes. No,
That
I
makes a
mean,
lot of sense.
we went from, the population here went from when like we got here, it was already growing, and it was around probably 54, 55,000 families or people, and we're pushing 100,000 now. I know we're definitely past 80 at this point, and you'd have to go look at the census and stuff like that to get the actual numbers. But we're in that strata. There will be 150,000 people in the greater Leander area within the next 2 to 5 years max. Once Northline goes online, then you're just going to have all this going on. But one of the things that I always kind of look at is like, okay, so we need to plan going forward. Okay, great community. Let's hold on to that vibe. Let's hold on to that community orientation. But let's think about this and let's be dynamic in the way that we have our thought process. So, a lot of things that we talk about, and I don't want to over politicize or over, topic something, but I just think that Leander could be a magnet for stuff. I do because you have, you go down 183 and there's the city of Austin and there's a bunch of stuff always going on in Austin. But from an event perspective, they cannot add anything to their current schedule. That calendar's way too full as it is.
Well, Leander never shut down.
Right.
Leander never shut down, and that was another driving force of coming out here was the permits.
Yeah.
And a lot of people weren't issuing permits, so it was kind of a no-brainer. Leander never shut down, and there's a lot of families, and people come out here. They really do. Every event that I've seen in Leander does really well.
Yes, that's been my experience too. Every event, and it's almost by accident, I think.
Right.
I don't think a lot of people really think about that when they start the events. I'd say maybe the exception would be like the citywide festival that the chamber puts on. They're trying to draw people in. Okay.
Chamber of Commerce does
and they do a great job. They do a great job.
They're a great bunch.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a member, so.
So are we.
But in the long run, I think that there's opportunity in Leander to do event-based. Let's just call them keystones to the year. Whatever the year looks like on our calendar, there should be anywhere between 2 to 4 events that are in Leander that draw people from all over.
You've got to give a lot of credit to the community leaders of Leander. They're doing it right. They really are. And they're unsung heroes to me. And whatever they're doing, I just hope they keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because this is by design. From their perspective, I feel like they planned for it to be this way. And I just give a lot of credit to them. Yeah,
and that's a tough job. And considering that a lot of the community leaders outside of the city employees are basically volunteering their time, I give a lot of credit to what they do. And there's always ways to, dissect that, look at it, and, come up with different positions. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with having a differing opinion about how to get there. But I think the overarching goal needs to be, let's get there. Let's get to that point. And that's what I mean by that. It's like we have people, we have entrepreneurs in the city, small business owners, who are creating opportunities for not only their own personal, gain, but, also community enrichment, investment, and long-term prosperity, in my opinion.
It's great when you are in a situation where everybody wins.
Yes.
And I feel like that's what we're doing.
Yes.
Everybody's winning here.
Yep.
And I love it.
No, I think so too. And again, I commend you on this effort. I think this is fantastic. I wish you nothing but prosperity and continued growth. And hopefully, we can maybe hook up in a year or so and see the bigger, better productions.
That'll be exciting.
Fantastic.
Yeah, man.
Well, Scott, thanks so much. I appreciate your time. And again, thank you so much for tuning in to Lean In Leander. And if you're watching, thank you very much. If you're listening, thank you very much. Tune in next time, and we'll have another really interesting person in the city of Leander. I've got something keyed up for us in the next couple of weeks, so looking forward to that one as well. And it's been great to meet you, Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. I appreciate the time. Thanks a lot, guys.
See y'all at the Texas Pumpkin Fest.
Yes, Pumpkin Patch, Texas Pumpkin Fest. Okay?
That's right.
Y'all come on out.